Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into a really fascinating, honestly kind of terrifying reality. The fact that your very existence right now, it's an absolute miracle of survival. Seriously, think about your family tree for a second. If you go back far enough, way past the powdered wigs and the chainmail, you're going to find a long, unbroken line of people who somehow managed to survive when absolutely everything on this planet was trying to kill them.
I mean, really think about the stark contrast between your day-to-day life and theirs. You're probably enjoying some modern comforts right now, right? Maybe nursing a mild caffeine dependency, surrounded by a good stash of snacks. Meanwhile, your nameless, shoeless ancient ancestor had a daily agenda that consisted of squatting in the dirt, maybe chewing on a beetle for protein, and just desperately trying to not get eaten by something toothy before sundown. If anyone in that massive, ancient chain had tripped at the wrong moment or succumbed to a random scratch, you literally wouldn't be here.
There's this fantastic quote that I think just hits the nail on the head. You're not lucky. You're the byproduct of violent coincidence and stubborn biology. You exist because thousands of people before you stubbornly refused to die when they probably should have. So let's dive into this high-stakes countdown. We're going to rank the 5 deadliest periods in history to see exactly how close humanity came, over and over again, to being entirely wiped off the map.
Starting off our countdown at number 5, the Ice Age.
We're jumping back roughly 20,000 years to the last glacial maximum. Imagine stepping outside and the world is just this frozen wasteland, smothered under ice sheets that are up to 2 miles thick. Global temperatures plummeted by about 10 degrees Fahrenheit. And hey, if hypothermia didn't get you, the local wildlife definitely would. You're sharing your neighborhood with school bus-sized woolly mammoths and massive, absolutely terrifying cave lions. And healthcare? Yeah, right. 0 antibiotics, 0 emergency rooms. You are pretty much just chewing on random plants and praying that an infected cut wouldn't end your entire lineage. Oh, and for living quarters, you're huddled in a hut made of mammoth bones or a freezing cave crammed in with 40 of your least favorite relatives.
But you know what's incredible? Instead of just throwing in the towel against those brutal conditions, Homo sapiens adapted. They mastered fire, they invented specialized tools, they figured out how to stitch animal hides together using tiny bone needles, just to survive the freezing cold. And amazingly, they even found the time and the spirit to create stunning early art, like those famous Lascaux cave paintings. They didn't just survive the ice, they found a way to be human.
All right, moving on to number 4, we encounter a totally different kind of danger, the dawn of agriculture. So fast forward to about 10,000 years ago. Humanity has what seems like a brilliant idea, right? Stop chasing 6-ton mammoths across the ice, settle down, and just let the food come to us by planting wheat, barley, and lentils. Sounds great. But humanity accidentally trapped itself. Living close together in permanent villages meant that suddenly diseases could spread like wildfire. And even worse, think about it. As hunters, if the food ran out, you just packed up and moved. But as farmers, if you had one bad drought, one random flood, or a swarm of locusts rolled through, your entire village just stayed put and starved to death. You were sitting ducks. And the physical toll was just brutal. When archaeologists dig up ancient farming skeletons, they are not seeing the picture of health. They're finding severe malnutrition and anemia. By trading in a really varied hunter-gatherer diet for a low-protein, vitamin-deficient grain diet, your ancestors' teeth practically rotted right out of their faces. Not exactly the farming utopia they were hoping for. Coming in at number 3, we leave the dangers of Mother Nature behind and enter a brutally efficient, completely human-made disaster, the Mongol invasions. We're talking the 13th century, led by Genghis Khan, a guy who basically treated the concept of mercy like it was a total myth. The Mongols built the largest contiguous land empire in human history, stretching all the way from China to Eastern Europe. And if you saw their dust cloud on the horizon, you essentially had about 3 minutes to panic before they turned your city into a parking lot. They basically invented modal warfare centuries before tanks were even a thought, accurately firing arrows from 300 yards away while riding at a full gallop. They arrived fast, hit incredibly hard, and literally left nothing standing. 10%. I just want you to let that number sink in for a second. Historians estimate that the Mongol war machine slaughtered around 10% of the entire world's population. And remember, the global population was already pretty small back then. It was an apocalyptic level of destruction completely brought on by cavalry.
Getting closer to the top now. Number 2 on our list, the Black Death.
The culprit here was Yersinia pestis. It's a lethal bacterium that was delivered back in 1347, totally courtesy of some highly motivated fleas hitching a ride from Central Asia. Now, in a medieval world where personal hygiene was pretty much non-existent, this thing tore through towns like a biological wildfire. You could catch this from a simple handshake, sharing a cup, or honestly just breathing the same air as an infected person. And once you had the symptoms, we're talking giant swollen lymph nodes, huge fevers, vomiting blood. It was usually a death sentence within just a few days.
The sheer scale of the loss is hard to wrap your head around. In just a few short years, a staggering 30 to 60% of Europe's entire population was wiped out. Gone. Entire villages were just left completely abandoned, and the economy totally collapsed. And the medical response? Oh boy. Doctors walked around wearing these incredibly creepy bird-like masks stuffed with flowers. Because apparently trying to vibe check the plague with a nice-smelling bouquet was the absolute peak of medieval science.
And now, the #1 spot. An event so massively cataclysmic, it honestly makes everything else we've talked about look like a minor speed bump. #1. The Toba supervolcano eruption.
All right, picture this. It's roughly 74,000 years ago, and humanity is literally on the verge of being deleted from existence forever. The sheer scale of this eruption is hard to even comprehend. Toba launched over 670 cubic miles of ash and debris straight into the atmosphere. That is enough material to cover the entire United States. This instantly triggered a massive crash in global temperatures, dropping them by up to 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Lush, thriving ecosystems just turned into frozen deserts overnight. And this wasn't just a bad couple of weeks, it triggered a brutal volcanic winter. In the very first year, the ash completely blocked out the sun. For the next several years, freezing temperatures caused plants to wither, rivers to dry up, and animals to starve, which meant global food supplies completely collapsed. By years 6 through 10, the few surviving humans were enduring up to a decade of freezing, near-total darkness. I mean, imagine the absolute terror of living for 10 years, constantly wondering if today was the last day anyone on Earth would ever see the sun again. Against those kind of impossible odds, the global human population didn't just drop, it plummeted. It's estimated that the entire human population across the globe shrank to fewer than 3,000 desperate individuals. This created what scientists call a genetic bottleneck. Because the population was reduced to just that tiny handful of survivors, the genetic diversity of our entire species squeezed through this incredibly tight window. Think about what that actually means. Every single person watching this explainer right now, all 8 billion of us on Earth today, are here solely because those fewer than 3,000 freezing, starving humans absolutely refused to give up in the dark.
Which brings us to our final thoughts. You are the ultimate survivor. Your existence is the culmination of ancestors who battled school-bus-sized mammoths, agricultural starvation, highly mobile Mongol armies, biological wildfires, and a literal decade-long volcanic winter. So, knowing all of this, what are you going to do with the absolute miracle of your existence today? Go out there and make those beetle-chewing ancestors proud. Thanks for exploring this incredible history with us in today's explainer, and we will see you next time.